Showdown with Gareth McGuinness.
Welcome back to the channel. Delighted to be back because it was a long week or so there about international break. And Stefan is on tonight. They look ahead to Man City against Arsenal, which brings us back. The Premier League, I mean, it's what everybody craves. And I'll tell you what a game they bring us back to this weekend. International break, a lot of controversy. We'll look at that. A lot of managers complaining about injuries, so many friendlies where they needed. We'll be asking Stefan, and also the viewers can also get involved in your comments. And we'll be looking at also the rest of the weekend's games and giving our predictions. So good to be back, Stefan. The international break is over. Did you use the time wisely to relax, or did you wreck your brain? Did you wreck your brain looking up where teams might drop points?
No, it was great in terms of I need a bit of just a break from football. My girlfriend was definitely really happy. But now, as the football it's dawning on me what kind of April we're approaching the games Arsenal have to play, the schedule. It's I'm excited, but at the same time dreading it. Like it's a bit of both. So yeah, for me it's let's see.
My girlfriend was the exact same. She was plenty of films on and stuff, and all her TV that was on during the week and stuff, and the weekend. Obviously, with the lack of games on, all the games kind of happened on the one night too. Tended to be on Saturday or last night. A lot of the nights there was nothing really happening. I watched some of the more competitive games, the likes of the playoffs for the Euros. Have they say they weren't particularly enjoyable? Well, I watched Wales' first game against Finland, and they won that well. And then yesterday I watched Georgia against Greece, and then I watched Wales against Poland. And I have to say, both games were terrible, and nothing compared to what the standard of the Premier League is. I mean, I caught a bit of, I seen a bit of England's game against Brazil. I didn't see the game last night.
I watched it pretty much. I watched the whole game pretty much.
So I mean, I didn't really enjoy any of the games that were on. I thought
no, actually,
first half was okay. Yeah. But apparently that match last night was half decent. I didn't see any of it.
Actually, England Brazil, the first half especially was actually quite good. Like it was quite open. It was quite open. It was good chances. I thought you could bring harsh. I thought Wales Poland wasn't a bad game. I thought it was. I know it was 0-0, but it was edgy. Like both teams were were trying really hard. I was not happy that Kivior had to play 120 minutes, but he played really well.
Who do you think? Do you think that I know Poland kind of finished the game strong, but
they're terrible.
I think Wales will be kicking themselves. They had the better chances and they dominated most of the game, but lack of creativity, lack of real goal threat. Kiefer Moore had a bit of a disaster up front. Lewandowski was anonymous. He was anonymous. As at the end of Lewandowski, I mean, he didn't have much of an impact at all. He was very quiet.
You can't expect Lewandowski. They have a few good players. Like they have Kivior, they have Zielinski's not bad. They have who else? Apart from those, like they have maybe 2 or 3 players that are actually quite good. Apart from those 2 or 3 players, like how is Lewandowski? Who is going to create for Lewandowski? I think it's quite harsh to, Lewandowski isn't a magician who can just take the ball and do everything by himself. He needs someone to supply him, and they just don't have that. So for me, Poland. I'm shocked, to be honest. Like it's a massive country. It's a football mad country. I was speaking recently to a Polish friend, and I was like, "What's going on? Like, why doesn't Poland have a good national team? Like, you have history. Like in terms of if you go back to the 80s, they have traditions. They're football mad. Like it should be very good. But for some reason, I don't know why Poland for the last, I would say for 20 years now, they've been completely irrelevant pretty much, which is a surprise.
They contrast, they summer summers for us. Obviously Ireland and Bulgaria not involved in the Euros. I mean, I looked at the final draw last night and it doesn't look the best lineup. I mean, the 24 teams obviously makes it better for the likes of Georgia. I think in Euro 20 or 21, whatever you want to call it, with COVID, we had Macedonia there. But I mean, I just don't know. I think it was better with 16 teams. I mean, it would just seem more competitive and better groups. I know there's a couple of groups there with Holland and France and Spain, Italy, but think there's going to be a lot of games that aren't going to be that great. I mean, until
No,
it really gets to the knockout stages, I don't really see it being that good.
no, it just it's a money ploy. They're trying to make the competition much bigger. That's why the Euros are, I don't know, and I think the Euros are in Germany, right?
Yeah, Germany.
Yeah, Germany. So they're going to they're going to try and include more nations. I think Georgia was one of the few nations, in my opinion, that deserve it, because if you see their youth teams, their youth teams are doing really well. I think their under 21s, if I'm not mistaken, reached the Euro final last year. So they have like a good pipeline, and you have the player from Napoli who's very good. So I think Georgia in a way deserved. I thought Ukraine, Ukraine has so many good players.
You're not going to attempt to say his name, the Georgian winner from Napoli, no?
Javichkara, no,
It's very hard. It's very hard to pronounce, isn't it?
It's very, but he's talented. But Georgia also has. You can see there's progress. Ukraine, I think I was shocked that they were in the playoffs, to be honest, because looking at their squad, they have a lot of really good players, and not only that, their league, a lot of the players that play in the Ukrainian league are from Shakhtar Donetsk, who are a very solid European team.
They play Italy in the last game of the group stage, and they drew.
They drew 1-1.
They should have won the game. Should have a penalty.
Yeah, they drew. I think they drew 1-1, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, look, Ukraine deserved, definitely. If you look at them on paper, Wales. I know Wales always do well in the Euros. It's their thing over the last few years. But let's be honest, without Bale and without Ramsey, they're very average to below average. You have Kiefer Moore, the guy can't even get a game at Bournemouth. Not that Bournemouth are bad, but he can't start for and he's starting for Wales. So in terms of,
I think, to be honest, every one of them teams bar Ukraine.
Honestly, I think
Poland, or I think whoever won that game last night between Poland and Wales, are just picking up the numbers. I think Georgia will be there.
If you ask me which team, in my opinion, is better based on just on paper, I would say Poland for sure, because they have Lewandowski, they have Zielinski, Kiwior plays for Arsenal. They have 3 or 4 and then they have a number of players that play in like the upper tier Italian teams, like at Bologna, Udinese.
Quite a tough group though. I think they're in a group with Holland and France.
Yeah, and if you ask me in the Euros what my dark horse is, I'm gonna tell you right now, Gareth, the Netherlands. I'm going.
Do you know what? I've got a feeling for Germany being the host nation, and they've come on the bit of form too.
They are. I mean, they are. I watched them. I actually watched Germany against France. I watched because I had England Brazil on the TV, and I put on Germany and France on the laptop, and I watched fully the second half, because and they have some, Wirtz is very good. The midfielder that played for them, that plays for Leverkusen, I think his name is Andrik. He was good. And Kimmich played in his best position, which is right back, and he was very solid. So if they can maybe form, Havertz played really well in the game, he even scored. So if they can find a way to kind of bring out the best of, and of course I forgot their star performer, Musiala. If they can find a way to harbor and to kind of, I would say, kind of focus the game around him.
That makes a good point. I think Gundogan and Yves Cruz have come back as well. They've got quite an experience midfield there, and them two, they've been there, done it. But I mean, the only question as with Germany is the striker. I know Havertz is playing there, but the out and out goal scorer, do they have it? I mean, I think our notable mentions, Spain, I think, are getting better. Obviously, it was a very entertaining game with Brazil last night. England are obviously going to be making, but I still think France are a team to beat.
But Gareth, tell me, honestly, this is going to be a really good question. Apart from England, tell me which European nation has a bona fide number 9. I can't. Holland, but Norway aren't even in the competition. So France, France don't have a number 9. Giroud retired pretty much.
Well, Mbappe and Griezmann can score goals, but
but for Spain, let's be honest, Xavi is more of a false 9. He's not
Spain's problems have been over the last number of years.
They have, what's his name plays? He's terrible. Morata. Yeah, he's terrible. he starts for Spain. And
I think didn't
France.
Spain in the World Cup, they won their first game 8-0 and then scored about one goal in the next 4 games. They had all this possession and couldn't score. And I think that's been the problem with Spain. Before we move on to the Premier League, Stefan, he says Holland, the Netherlands, whatever you want to say, or your dark
Yeah.
horses. Who do you think will win the Euros in the summer?
I don't think it's gonna be England because of Southgate.
No,
I'm
I don't
gonna be
think so either.
honest. I think the final is going to be Netherlands France, and I think the Netherlands will win it because I also see France with some of their decisions. Their coach reminds me a little bit. I know he's won, but I just think he won the World Cup because he had an amazing team. This team was just, in my opinion, so much
Interestingly,
better.
them two in the same group. I think if them two qualify first and second, they wouldn't be able to meet until the final.
I mean, if you start Benjamin Pavard and Upamecano instead of Kanate and Saliba, I'm sorry, you're not gonna.
Yeah, feels similarly how you.
I
felt
agree.
about
No,
that
I'm not saying, but they're gonna get to the semifinal. They're gonna play a good team, and Southgate is gonna screw it up like he always does. Like he always
I've
does.
got an inkling for Germany. You know, I just feel the home. They always tend to show up at home as well. When they host, they always seem to be there. Thereabouts.
Germany? Yeah, but Germany. Don't forget, Germany haven't done well in the Euros since I think the 80s or the 90s. Their Euro record in the last 30 years has not been. They haven't won a Euros in ages.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll speak about that towards the end of the year a bit more in depth. But let's move on to the Premier League. And obviously the game on everybody's mind this weekend, even if you're neutral, is probably Man City and Arsenal. I don't know how Man City and Arsenal fans are coping with it, but huge game, Stefan. How are you feeling ahead of this Sunday? I mean, Arsenal have been here before, many a season where there's been a crunch game and it's not happened. I think when they played Man City last year, you could see maybe the cracks have already started. They're coming into this game. They couldn't come in better form. I think they've won their last 8 Premier League games. They've got 3 against Porto in the Champions League. So really since that money crisis where they lost to West Ham, Fulham and Liverpool knocked them out of the cup, it's been all plain sailing for Arsenal, bar the money hiccup in Porto, but sure, that's irrelevant now that they're through. So, I mean, Arsenal come in the better form. Man City, there's question marks there, despite what they've achieved in previous seasons. You've seen what happened at Anfield in the second half. They were totally outplayed. So Arsenal must feel that this is a great opportunity to play Man City.
I mean, in my opinion, Arsenal since the start of the year have easily been the best team in the Premier League. So, you either, we have a chance to stake a claim and to show that we are the real deal. Do I think we're gonna go and completely destroy Man City? No, of course, because they're the best team in the world currently, in my opinion. They're the defending champions. I think the most important thing that Arsenal need to realize about Sunday is, yes, we need to stake a claim and win, but the most important thing is not to lose. If we don't lose, it's not the end of the world. If it's a draw, it's a draw at Man City. It's probably one of the most difficult places in the world to go play in. So, in my opinion, that for me should be the priority at first. Be stable at the back, play well, but don't go all out for the win. Don't, because we're not going to dominate the game for 90 minutes at their ground. This isn't going to be like Arsenal versus Liverpool at the Emirates, Callum. It's not going to be.
You make a good point, right? Because a lot of these games have been talked up. We've seen the Liverpool Man City game a few weeks ago. Everyone was talking it up, ended up a draw. I mean, this is the final game between the 3 teams this season. There's been 5 games already. This is the final game. This is game 6.
Yeah.
I mean, do we read too much into these games? That even if one team wins, it doesn't mean they're going to go on to win the league because it's so tight up there. I mean, all bets will be a draw because that's how these games have been this season. Or in Arsenal's 2 home games against Liverpool and Man City where they've won. Liverpool and Man City played out 2 draws, and Man City's other game against a team was at home was Liverpool. So they have failed to beat Liverpool or Arsenal this season. And again, I think Arsenal will be happy with a draw. So do you think it's more likely this game ends in a draw this weekend?
I mean, if if we judge based on stats, based on how all those teams have performed against the so-called top six, Arsenal is currently with the most points compared to Liverpool and Man City. So by stats, Arsenal should be the best place to actually take something from Man City. But Man City are going to be really hyped. They know this is a massive game. So let's see. I'm really intrigued what Arteta is going to do tactically. I'm really intrigued whether he's going to start with Havertz. Yeah, no excuses. Yeah. But of course,
how much can you read into these injuries? I mean, we're going to speak about injuries and a bit further on, but just in relevance, we'll speak about it more in depth. But I mean, if you're Arteta, you don't plan for Stones and Walker not being fit, because we've seen this before.
No,
Man City,
you have to,
the masters at it. Pep will not plan for no Saka.
I think Gareth.
No Rice, so.
Yeah. I think they're both out. To be honest, looking at the injuries, if you hold on your hamstring and you stop, trust me, you're not going to be fine in a week. Like hamstring, even if it's a minor hamstring injury,
they're either serious or they're the best actors.
Like for me, and then
significant.
Yeah, and then the other injury, which is the groin one, that's very similar to a hamstring, which is if you pull that even slightly, it's a minimum. You're not going to recover even if it's a minor tear, you're not going to recover in 5 days. And even if you might be able to play through it, it's a massive risk where you risk playing against Arsenal, ripping it further, and being out for over a month. So I really doubt that I really severely doubt. And from what I'm reading from the sources, like the in the know people, they're saying Walker is 100% out. Like 100%. Stones can risk it, but he's also most likely to be out. Now, going to the Arsenal side, I'm going to tell people this. Arteta's the worst at this, which is he's learned this from the hockey guys, where in hockey and in the NFL, they purposefully lie in terms for injuries. So when teams, they purposely, like, hockey is especially known for this, where they say supposedly he has a leg injury and stuff like this.
Saka's going to play.
Saka 100% is going to play. I think Martinelli, are you serious? People are saying he's a doubt. He has a cut. It's been 2.5 weeks. I'm sure he's recovered from the cut. I don't know. Maybe
not, because he hasn't played since the Sheffield United game, hasn't
he? 3 weeks. You're right, Gareth. It's been 3 weeks since the cut. So he should be fine. Gabriel is the only one where I think, okay, there might be something, because it's Achilles tendonitis, so that can be sometimes, difficult to recover from. It might take some time. It's risky to, play, and then you have to, usually play with some sort of painkiller. So the only one that I can see that might not play is Gabriel. I think Saka is also really robust. He usually comes back far quicker, and supposedly it was a precaution, minor, tight muscle. I really doubt if Saka can play at 80 to 90%, he's going to play.
Partey back in contention, or?
Yeah, he's back. He's back. He's fully back. He'll be on the bench probably. Tomiyasu is also fully back. They had a preseason game against QPR like 4 or 5 days ago. Partey played, I think, 75 minutes. Tomiyasu played 60. So they have some kind of preseason.
If Gabriel's out, does Kiwior play at centre back and Zinchenko left?
100% I'll play Kiwior at centre back.
We're going to come back to the game, Stefan. I know we did this a few weeks ago. We're not going to go on to them in depth again, but I just thought I'd leave them on here just to have a quick look, because it's been a week or so since we were on. Me and Owen, and I think we did them predictions a couple of weeks ago. Not much has changed since, but there has been the TV fixtures have come out for April. The schedule's been chalked around. There's been some games that were postponed, have been rescheduled. And we'll speak about them and how significant they might be in terms of Arsenal. Let's look at Man City and Arsenal first. Man City play Arsenal at home, Villa at home, Palace away, Luton at home, Brighton away is a rescheduled game on a Thursday night. Then they'll play Forest away on the Sunday, Wolves at home, Fulham away. The only place that Spurs can go now is on the final week of the season before the final day against West Ham. Even if Man City were knocked out against Real Madrid in the Champions League, it would be too short notice, I'm told, for the game to be played anywhere else. So that is the only place now where Man City that game can go. That will be on the Wednesday or the Thursday before the season
Great.
finishes.
No, perfect.
I don't think that's helped Arsenal or Liverpool, to be totally honest. But we'll look at Arsenal now. Man City away, Luton at home, Brighton away, Villa at home, Wolves at home, Chelsea at home is a Tuesday night rescheduled game before they play Spurs away. Bournemouth at home. Spurs could actually have a 2-week break between playing Newcastle and Arsenal. And obviously, I haven't put on the Champions League games and FA Cup games on here. I've just put on Premier League. But as you can tell from Stefan's reaction, not only will he be playing Chelsea in that whole week, they've got Bayern Munich sandwiched them between some of them games as well. And possibly Man City or Real Madrid should they progress further. So after Spurs away, it's Bournemouth at home, Man United away, and Everton at home. And Liverpool, they've got Brighton at home, Sheffield United at home, Man United away, Palace at home, Fulham away, Everton away is a rescheduled game on a Wednesday night before traveling to West Ham.
I didn't see that. That run is where their title challenge is ending, Gareth.
That's a tough week. 3 away games.
Fulham away, Everton away, West Ham away, and then Villa away. 4 out of those, they have 4 away
5
games.
in particular: Fulham away, Everton away, and West Ham away. That's going to be played from Sunday to Saturday at 12:30.
Everton and West Ham. I guarantee you, they're going to come out of both games.
And then it's Spurs at home, Villa away, and Wolves at home. I mean, we'll go through them. We'll go through them again. But I mean, who are the biggest winners, do you think, from the rescheduling? I mean, Man City, for me, have had a major break playing Brighton instead of Spurs on there. And that rescheduled game, they could have played Spurs where they're playing Brighton. I think that would have been a better alternative for Arsenal and for Liverpool, especially Arsenal, because Spurs would have had to play Man City on the Wednesday night, then play Arsenal on the Sunday. Now they've got a free week. And also, you would say for Man City, they would rather play Brighton than Spurs away from home. So, I mean,
I don't know
Man
about
City
that,
been the biggest winners?
I mean, yeah, for sure. In terms of, if you look at, so for example, let's look at Spurs. Let's say Spurs, either everything goes to pot, and they have, was it the second last game they have City, and Arsenal are still in the actual title race. I guarantee you.
Yes, I get that point. If Spurs were to fall off a cliff, then that
not even forget.
There's also a scenario that Spurs could also be qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah, or Spurs have a guaranteed spot in between 4th and 5th. 100%, I guarantee you they're gonna lie down for City. 100%. Yeah. If it's between Arsenal and Man City, which I predicted at the end in the last 2 to 3 games, if it's going to be between Arsenal and Man City, and Spurs have a choice in which, listen, we're already qualified. Should we go for 4th? Maybe not. Let's just, we're happy with 5th. Let's lie down so Arsenal don't win the league. 100% they're gonna do
that. Let's look at Arsenal, because obviously they've got some tough away games, and they've got Man City, Spurs away, Man United away, Wolves away isn't easy either. But them 3 in particular have been kind of bogey grounds for Arsenal. Only won Spurs last year, but United's away is always difficult. Spurs away has always been difficult. Even if Arsenal had a great record against Spurs at their new stadium, they would still feel it's a difficult game because it's a derby. Anything can happen. And obviously Man City away is as tough as it gets, or than maybe Liverpool at Anfield. So, I mean, there are tough games, but the scheduling for me, and even me being a Spurs fan, I did smile when I seen it, but it is unfair on Arsenal. I mean, how can they have 4 games and Spurs get 2 weeks off? I mean, it's I mean,
and not only that, Garrett, they've sandwiched 2 London derbies. So Arsenal have Chelsea, and then they have Spurs away.
Yeah.
Whilst I think if we qualify to the semifinals right after Spurs away, I think we have.
Real Madrid or Man City.
Real Madrid or Man City. Like, it's a joke.
And then the second leg will be between Bournemouth and Man United, so they'd have to play United away then on the Sunday.
Listen, you know what? It's kind of a blessing in disguise, because I would say one of the things this season that Arteta really has developed as a coach is having the ability to rotate more. You're going to have to use now Reece Nelson. You're going to have to use Smith Rowe. You're going to have to use Fabio Vieira. You're going to have to use Tomiyasu more. You're going to have to use Zinchenko more. Timber should be fit and should have played some game time, so should be able to contribute at least in those games. Partey is fit now. So the only good part about this, the only kind of silver lining is the fact that Arsenal have pretty much a fully fit squad. Everybody is fit. Gabriel Jesus has also been
Do you not
training.
think though it's going to be extremely difficult now with all that? I mean, you've got Bayern Munich twice, possibly Man City 2 more times after the game, or Real Madrid 2 games, and between Spurs, Man City, Man United all the way. I mean, that's as tough as it gets. I mean, if Arsenal already won the league or the Champions League, any one of them two with that kind of running, I mean, that would be some achievement.
Gareth, I agree with you, but you can, Liverpool, Man City can make a similar argument. I know it's shit playing Chelsea and Spurs and putting the Spurs game.
Well, no, maybe
that.
Man City being Champions League, but Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool's going to be playing Atlanta and then Benfica or Marseille.
Yes, but Gareth, they have to play on Thursdays. It's the worst. In my opinion, playing Thursday to Sunday is the worst. In my, it's harder than playing Champions League. In my opinion, like in terms of the scheduling and the recovery. And then go check. Liverpool fans are hyping up this Europa League. Liverpool's record against Italian teams is horrendous. I don't know if all the yes, because Liverpool are going to be in this title race. I've told you this, Darren and Callum. I'm telling you, your downfall will be that 5-game spell where you have 4 away games.
Let's look at that, because them Fulham away, Everton away, West Ham away, Spurs at home, and Villa away, and between Europa League games.
Everton away, they're gonna kick the absolute.
They are difficult games, Stefan, but they're all games where Liverpool will be favourite, won't they? I mean, you couldn't say they're not favourite.
I mean, West Ham away. I think they have a pretty poor record over there over the last few years. So I don't think they've won West Ham away in I think 2 or 3 seasons. It usually finishes as a draw, or I think last season they lost.
Beat them last year. They did beat them last year, but they lost the year before.
Did they?
Did they? There was a goal.
I remember every time it's super tight. It's a really difficult game for them. Everton away, they're gonna be really, really okay. No, Callum, I said this. That's why my point is
these 4 last games is their 4 last.
Okay. We'll see because Klopp's reaction after the FA Cup loss, he's losing it. He's so desperate to win everything. He's losing composure. And that's going to reverberate into the team in a similar way that it happened with Arteta. So last season, in terms of he looks stressed out, he's snappy to reporters. So I'm telling you, you haven't had a dip this year. Every team has to have a dip. There's no team that, even the best teams, you haven't had yours. That's the worrying.
When I was looking at the running before the schedule, and Stefan, I kind of didn't notice this run. I kind of looked at the United away game and the Villa away game as the 2 big ones. I actually think Liverpool's next 4 games are quite favourable. I think they'll beat Brighton and Sheffield and Palace, definitely. United away, I think United have played their trump card against them this season. I think in the 2 games, Liverpool are due something to go their way. Now, I think they're going to go to their Old Trafford this time and possibly won. But it's the games after that I think are the most difficult now, because.
No, can you explain to me where is this sudden confidence that they're going to just go to Old Trafford again and thrash them? Did you watch them in the last game at Old Trafford? Man United should have run away with that game. Man United was by far the better team.
But I just think it'll go different ways. I just think.
Why?
I mean, the same thing.
Why?
If Spurs played Arsenal 2 times and beat them twice, I'd say it's due to go the other way this time.
Oh, maybe. I mean, okay, maybe from from historic, they're both, in terms of Liverpool.
But Liverpool. No, what I mean is Liverpool are a better team than Man United. That's what I'm saying. I think if Liverpool go there and play their best, they'll win this time. You know what I mean?
I agree, but the problem is exactly what happened in the Man United game. What we've been talking about, which is Man United scored 3 goals and should have scored probably 4 or 5 in that game. Really? You're saying Arteta has been the worst with composure? You have a coach that blames everything else apart from himself. He's blamed the wind. He's blamed the grass. He moans about the actual scheduling when Arteta has every right to moan about the actual scheduling this time. Every time he moans about every single lunch game, Klopp has to have, or I call him Moaning Myrtle, has to have some sort of, pop at the actual reporter. He lost his composure after the Man United game because he couldn't take a loss. and called the Norwegian. If Arteta had done that, or Eric Ten Hag, people would be calling for him for the sack. He is the biggest asshole in English football by far. But because he is the Liverpool coach and he's liked, it's okay because Klopp is Klopp. Okay, yeah, but it's fine. Sorry.
Let's move back to Sunday. Let's move back to Sunday. I mean, you run this position a few weeks ago when Liverpool were playing Man City. It's Liverpool's turn this time. Well, I mean, how will they see this game on Sunday? Do you think that they will want a draw, or do you think they'll maybe favour one team winning it? I mean, and how does it leave Liverpool if they go and beat Brighton in the early game? They're going to be sitting pretty before that game kicks off. I mean, they could be 3 Arsenal if they lose. They could be 4 points ahead of Man City.
You never know. Yeah, you never know with Brighton. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. So, and one thing I know is Liverpool over the last years, I think, have a terrible record against Brighton. They don't beat them very often. So, in terms of, do I expect Liverpool to beat them at home? Yes, because Brighton's away record is terrible. But you never know against Brighton, because Brighton might show up, and when they do show up, they're really, really good. So let's see. I mean, I'm intrigued to see whether the pressure.
I agree. Brighton will turn up and make a game of it, or they'll get beat 5 or 6. That's the way.
Yeah. It's either Brighton. It's either 3-2 Brighton at Anfield. They're gonna play this. They're gonna look like Barcelona under Pep, or they're gonna be beat 5-0 or 6-0. Like, it's either gonna be that way. But let's see, because Brighton have had a few players now coming back from injury. This break was very beneficial for them, just to kind of regroup, refresh, because they had a few bad. I mean, they lost 4-0 as well now. Yeah, they lost badly in Europe. They haven't been very good in the league, from what I remember. So, so let's see. And don't forget now, the pressure is going to be on Liverpool, Gareth, because all the pressure is going to be, because they're playing, I think, the game before us, right? So everybody's going to say, you have to win this game so you can go top of the league. So let's see how they actually deal with that, because, let's see. I'm intrigued.
I mean, we spoke about this a few weeks ago. You've had some weeks to think about it. I mean, a lot of people are topping this up that they feel that Arsenal, Man City will meet in the semi-final of the Champions League. I mean, Arsenal seen as favourites against Bayern, Man City seen as favourites against Madrid. I mean, do you think there's a good chance this will happen?
I think.
How does that make things? Does that favour Liverpool if this happens?
I think I mean, for sure, because both teams are gonna go all out. I mean, it's the Champions League semi-final, so I don't think any team is going to rotate for a semi-final. Arsenal, Man City. Sadly for me, if Arsenal knock out Bayern and they knock out Real Madrid, I think in my opinion, Arsenal, Man City should be the final. I think those are the two best remaining teams. No offense to, I know Atletico have heritage, so do Barca, but I really think both Arsenal and Man City would maybe not Atletico for Arsenal, but I honestly think Arsenal would wipe the floor with Barcelona this year. And so would Man City. But I think
that there may be, if one of these teams goes out in the quarterfinals, that they may look at it back. If they were to go on, they won the league, they might think it was a blessing, because there's a good chance, right? You could end up with nothing still. You could end up getting to a final and it's a one-off game. Yes, if Arsenal meet Man City in the semi-final, whoever wins that would be the favourites in the final. But if you ran into Atletico Madrid and they stunk the place out with how they play, and nick a 1-0 we've seen crazy things happen in football. You can end up with nothing. And I mean, do you think there'll be some aspect of, if Bayern were to knock Arsenal out, they'd be going, do you know what? Maybe with all these games coming up, it would be a blessing. I mean, how do you see that as a fan? You always want to win.
No, Gareth. A big club doesn't think like that. A big club goes for everything, and I think last season we tried to use that excuse when we went out of the Europa League early against Sporting on penalties. We're like, that's good. Now we can focus on the league. No, don't worry. He will complain about something if you guys drop points against Brighton.
I actually think there is a chance if Arsenal might get free in the games it depends what night the semi-final is, but the Spurs Arsenal game could get moved to the Saturday at 12:30, and West Ham Arsenal goes to the Sunday. But that isn't
If
guaranteed.
only
If
no,
Arsenal
if it
play
no,
really
but Gareth, if it is moved to half-time before a League game, if only we had Klopp to be on our side and to complain about it before the game and then after the game, whatever happens. Because what I recall, just what I recall about the final thing is he only complains about lunchtime games when he drops points. I've never heard him complain about a lunchtime game when he's actually won it. I just want to point out what a sore loser he is. So yeah, so that's
And
just
actually,
my
this season they've had quite a good record in them lunchtime games, so I don't really see the issue. But Stefan, let's move back to the Man City Arsenal game. I mean, we spoke a few things around it. Obviously, there's more to it than just Man City Arsenal. But I mean, these two teams are very, very, very like they control games, very much like they dominate. Do you think that's going to be key to victory on Sunday? Midfield battle, who comes out on top wins the game.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Rodri versus Rice, is that going to be the deciding factor
Rodri.
for who comes out on top in that game?
I think Arteta's going to go more safe. He's going to go more. I think he's going to play Rice and Jorginho. I think he's going to play his defensive formation, which is Jorginho and Rice for control in the midfield. And then he's going to play Havertz up top because Havertz defensively off the ball is really, really good. So for me, it's in my opinion, that's just my opinion. I think Arsenal's midfield is slightly better because I think the weak link in their midfield, whilst De Bruyne is better than Odegaard, I look. I know everybody raves about Rodri. I think he's a world-class player and stuff, but I really do think that when you pair him up against a more athletic and more physical type of player where they start running at him, he really looks a little bit like.
What are we thinking here?
Like
We're thinking for Arsenal, Rice, Jorginho, Odegaard. Yeah, that's the three you think?
No, my dream, honestly, Gareth, would be Rice, Jorginho for 60 minutes, and then put on Thomas Partey. Then put on Thomas.
Well, that's what I mean. They start where you think Rice, Jorginho, and Odegaard. They start, and then Man City. We're thinking Rodri, De Bruyne, and
I have no. I think I'm guessing. No, Kovacic has been horrendous, man. He has been terrible.
You think he have Bernardo Silva?
Yeah, I think he's gonna go defensive. I think because Bernardo Silva off the ball is amazing. I think he's gonna go with Bernardo Silva because of his off the balls, and that is where I think we need to exploit that because he lacks physicality in terms of Declan Rice Declan Rice is more powerful, more athletic than Rodri, and I just want to ask Callum. It's a massive statement. Yes, Callum, and we know Arsenal need to win, but how many times have Liverpool won at the Etihad over the years with Klopp? Because can you think of any time, Gareth? Because I can't.
I think they won there in his first season. Or than that, I think so. I think they won in his first season there. No, when they come in during the Rodgers season.
Yeah, so it's not some ground. It's not some ground where it's like, oh yeah, if you're gonna make a statement, it's gonna be. But I agree.
In the league, I think they may have won a game in the Champions League there, but I think in the league only won one.
But Gareth, I disagree. I don't think the battle is going to be won in the midfield. I think both midfields are gonna they're gonna play safe. They're gonna play defensive. I think where the difference is going to be is the key battles are going to be between the attackers and the defenders. And one thing I have noticed is Darren, yes, well done. Yes. You guys are the best. 9 years, you've won once.
I think to be totally honest, if you look at the City Liverpool thing, I remember when City went to Anfield, everyone was saying City don't want here that often, but it's the same. Liverpool don't go to Man City and won that. It's very difficult to go to these teams and won.
Super difficult.
No,
but going back,
not many teams go to Man City and won, so it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, but going back, I think the key will be the battles between Havertz and Ruben Diaz, and I think between Haaland and Saliba. and
The
Gabriel.
biggest difference last year, wasn't it, was De Bruyne and Haaland ran the bloody show. I mean, De Bruyne ran the show. He's probably
Yeah,
not
but
in the same
I
form he
mean,
was in last
people.
year. That's a leveler, isn't it? I mean,
No, but
he was playing out of his skin last year.
but Gareth, people forget that game. Arsenal had no Partey and had no Saliba. Man,
Mm.
we had Rob Holding.
Mm.
Rob Holding, I think, can't even make the bench now for Crystal Palace, man. So
Yeah, actually
people.
scored in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored. It was a great goal, actually. But like, people need to realize, like, the game, like the team that Arsenal had up against them, like the game that they played against us when they beat us 3-1 at the Emirates. I have never. This was when I knew Arteta and Arsenal were for real. I have never seen. They beat us 3-1 in that game, but they played long ball. I was shocked. Guardiola said, "We're not going to try and play possession-based football against them. We're going to play long ball." I have never seen Guardiola play like this. They had 35% possession at the end of the game. I was shocked at how much, in a way, he beat us and it was tactically the correct, but how much respect he gave to Arteta.
That was an De Bruyne show too, wasn't it? He was unplayable, I think, too.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a De Bruyne show because they scored their first goal from a terrible mistake from Tomiyasu. We equalized after that from a penalty, and then I think it was like the 70th or 75th minute where they broke on the counter attack from a long ball, and Grealish scored. So it was a very even game. Arsenal could have easily won it when it was 1-1. We had a few chances. So,
but De Bruyne seems to have been a thorn in Arsenal. He always seems to turn up against Arsenal.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the greatest midfielders that's playing in the Premier League. Like, it's not he's a transformational player. He's a generational player. Of course, he's an amazing player. But I think the more I watch Odegaard over these coming months, he's getting better with each month. So for me, I'm really looking forward to what Odegaard can do against Man City, because I think if Martinelli is fit and Kyle Walker is out, they have a lot of things to worry about, because I really don't think they have another.
He'll play right back, Lewis.
Yeah, that's not going to go well for them. It won't.
Let's see if we can all get along here for 10 or 15 minutes, because I think this is a topic that everybody has something they probably all agree on. Before we move on to the predictions for the weekend, including that Man City Arsenal game, a lot of coaches, pundits, football fans, all very unhappy with this international break. Even before, obviously, it's always there in the calendar, but I think it being so tight this year between the teams at the top, everybody was kind of dreading this. One, because nobody wants to watch pointless games, and two, because they're worried about players getting injured. I mean, Stefan, has football outgrown this March international break now? I mean, I can understand the Wales games and the Ukraine having to play their games. There's only so it has to be fit on somewhere. But is there any need for England to be playing Brazil, Spain playing Brazil, France playing Holland, and all these teams are qualified for the Copa America or the Euros? I mean, let's be honest. Gareth Southgate knows 9 or 10 of his first 11. There's only really one position, maybe tops, and that's why he likes a Saka. That's why the likes of Saka's pulled out, because if he's not really, he knows he's going to be playing the Euros, so he doesn't want to risk injury, does he? I mean, it's not saying it's just him. A lot of our players the same. Haaland pulled out, Odegaard pulled out. So I mean, all these players.
No. Odegaard played both games.
Not Haaland pulled out. Sorry, Haaland pulled out.
No, you're wrong. No, Haaland played both games.
He come off at halftime, but says that was enough.
No, he came off at halftime in the first one. In the second game, he played like 75 minutes.
There's a few other players that pulled out, anyway.
Yeah, Rodri pulled out fully. How convenient. Yeah.
But I mean, what do you think? I mean, should there be friendlies in March?
Yes, I do believe that there should be friendlies, but where I get annoyed is not from an Arsenal perspective. Like, for example, why did Declan Rice need to play 2 games? Like, we know Declan Rice is going to be a key piece on the England team. He's going to go to the Euros. He's going to what more he has. You've seen him. You've played him now for, I think it was his 50th cap. You've played him, I think, pretty much for all those. You've been his coach for. You know who. Yeah, it's true.
He's thinking of his pockets, so yes.
No, but for me, you have to play the friendly. So, in my opinion, friendly should be more of testing players that don't have a lot of caps. So, looking at Ollie Watkins, looking at Ivan Toney, Looking at a Madison, for example, who doesn't get a lot of chances for England. Why do you have to play John Stones? And why do you have to play Declan Rice? You know John Stones is going to
Madison
be
only
one
played
of the first
15 minutes over the 2 games. So, I mean, I don't get why he was even called up.
Yeah, like, no, in terms of their friendlies, if they were playoffs or for the qualifiers, okay. But the friendlies are supposed to be an opportunity for you to see the players and to see how they gel. What is the point? What is the point of playing Harry Maguire?
Why not just have 1 game in? Why not just have 1 game? Why do we need 2 games?
No, in terms of, I don't mind the 2 games, but show that you're giving players opportunities. Like, for example, he played, for example, Kobe Mainu, great. You called him up and you gave him a game.
Fair enough. I get that. I get why you're saying that, right? I agree to some extent. But the other point is, if I'm a manager, right, and I've got 2 games before the Euros now, that's their last. Obviously, there's going to be a couple of games, warm-up games before the Euros, but it's their last chance before June. Of course, they're going to want to play their best players because they want to try and get them gelled together. So it's a bit of a double argument. Yes, I get why you might see a Kobe Mainu play, but they ideally want to get most of their players playing together to get them gelled. So it's, if a manager's always going to pick his best team, isn't he? So it's a bit of a double argument.
No, I disagree about the gelling together. They've already gelled together. They're going to go to training camp for 2 weeks. They're going to have a friendly. They will gel together. You know these, you know their quality. You've seen them. Why do you need to play Kyle Walker and Declan Rice? Kyle Walker is 33, man. It's a friendly. What are you doing? You know he's going to start at right back. You don't have a better right back than Kyle Walker. You don't have a better number 6 than Declan Rice. Declan Rice is going to start for England. No, he is a guaranteed player that's on. Why do you need to play him the 2 games? Why don't you give a chance to, who's the other number 6 that he called?
So do you blame it on the managers then? They should be protecting these players.
I blame him completely. Like Germany, for example. Why did he play Kai Havertz twice? Like, I get Kai Havertz. Look, Kai Havertz is very robust. He's rarely injured. I get it. But why didn't you? So you play. I don't mind. Play Kai Havertz against France. And in the second game, play the number 9 for Dortmund, Fulkrug, I think. So you can. It isn't the point of friendlies testing new formations, testing new players.
But let's be honest. But this is where I'm going to. I get again. I think this is where you're getting me wrong. I agree with some of the stuff you're saying, but if you look at all the teams, they played all their best players, didn't they? Brazil went with the players available, with a few injuries. They played their best players. England played their best available players. Norway were playing Haaland and Odegaard. Germany were playing all their main players. So if a manager's got players available, he's always going to pick his strongest team.
Look. It depends.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
Again, Gareth, you're missing context here. Brazil just recently announced a new coach. He needs to play these players so he has a new formation, a new system. So I get why Brazil played the players that he had. Norway, I mean, if they don't play Haaland or Odegaard, do they have like replacements for these players? Like, it's probably like from the Norwegian league. So it's not going to.
I get that. So they're always going to play their strongest.
No, in terms of for Norway, I get why they always play their strongest because they just don't have nowhere near the caliber of players of Odegaard and Haaland to change them. Brazil, the context is you used it wrong. The context was, look at France. Look what France did. France in the first friendly game compared to the second, they changed their pretty much. I think they made like 8 or 9 changes for the second. They changed the whole team.
They played a weekend, but they played Chile. That's probably why they went weak.
But Chile aren't some like they're not some they're not some like terrible team.
Well, but this way, France. Well, Germany played Holland and France, so they played 2 top teams. England played Brazil and Belgium, so they were always going to be strong. I mean, if Kane was fit, he would have played. Right, let's be honest. If Kane was fit, he would have played. If Saka was fit, he would have played. All these players would have played.
I look. I'm 100% sure Saka would have probably played both games. And you know what? I'm happy that because Saka injured, you saw Bowen. Bowen has certain qualities too. He played very well against against Belgium. He was very good. You see some of the players. Chilwell, by the way, should never be called up for England again after his Brazil performance. Jesus Christ. He was horrendous.
He was destroyed, wasn't he?
He was so bad.
I just think now with how much of it football's at stake, I really think there shouldn't be any of these friendlies in March. I really don't. I think it should only be the playoff games. That's it. Let the other boys have a break. Or at
but
least
Gareth, what if?
have a training session then. Do training, as you say, bring them together for a camp, but don't play them because. But as
Gareth, how are
I
you
said,
gonna?
Southgate, for example, with England, he's under so much pressure from the media. He has to look at the way he was celebrating when he scored that goal at the end because he knows it's how much pressure he's under, and it's only a friendly. So it's not really a friendly.
Why did he celebrate? You drew
because he's under that much pressure.
No, he's just a loser. He's just a loser. He's never won anything in his life, and you could see it as a coach. That's why he celebrated. Do you really think Mourinho would celebrate equalizing?
I think it was the pressure. I think it was just on the pressure he was under.
What pressure? The media loves Southgate, Gareth. It's the fans that hate him. The fans hate. If you read any of the big papers, the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph, they all love Gareth Southgate. They all want him to stay.
The journalists like him. The journalists like him, but the actual football, the ex-players aren't.
The fans hate him. The fans. I'm sure if they do a poll, his disapproval ratings will be at least 60%. Like I'm sure they would not be very good. But I just think the media loves him. I don't think he's under as much pressure as you say, because the media loves the fact that he's
ex-players, but a lot of ex-players are saying he's not good.
And that's also big. All the pundits, a lot of them have played with him, so they're nice.
The journalists like him because he gives them all this access and he speaks to them all the time. I think that's why the journalists like him.
I don't know if he gives them access, but if you've played with someone and let's be honest, Gareth Southgate is a nice guy. Like he's a nice guy. So as a media person, if he is nice to you, if he's nice to you in general, of course you're kind of more inclined to be nicer in your pieces about him. He has done positive things. For me, the negative about Southgate is he is ridiculously conservative. And so, I mean, it took Calvin Phillips having the worst spell I've ever seen of a football player having in 4 or 5 games for him to finally drop this guy. He was so bad against West Ham. He's been so bad.
A lot of pundits, ex-players, saying that Southgate is tactically miles off it. I mean, do you agree? I mean, is his tactics just not good enough?
In my opinion, the way he tactically sets up the team is too negative. He's too concerned with the opposition, and you could see that. And he doesn't play to the strengths of the England team. The England team has players like. Has so many good players. You have Declan Rice, you have Bellingham, you have, Foden, Harry Kane, Saka, like so many good attacking players. And only that, you have Maddison on the bench. You have, you have the wingers. You have Rashford on the bench to come on in the last 20 minutes. Yeah, you have so many good. Watkins is you have so many attacking options. And your natural instinct is to play. Like if it was like France, for example, they also play a negative kind of defensive style. I get it because France have probably 6 or 7 elite defenders, and you want to play. You want to play to the strength of your team, and the strength of France's team is the defense. The strength of England's team is your midfield and your attack, especially. But he doesn't play to your strength. He plays to your weakness. In my opinion, the weakest area in England's team, in my opinion, are 2: the center back area and the goalie.
Left back too.
No, left back they're okay. Look, Luke Shaw is good. Chilwell is terrible. I agree about
Shaw, but he's always injured.
He's always injured. But left back, they have a few talented players. I mean, I can't believe that he didn't call up Colwell. Colwell is so talented.
He can play left back, can't he? Or center back. Let's finish off, Stefan, looking ahead to the weekend's games. Quite an interesting debate there on international football. And thanks for the comments as always. Let's look, and as we say, the Premier League is back on Saturday. A very buzzy week of games. There is a midweek round as well on between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, and then obviously the Premier League's back the following weekend. So teams will play 3 games in 7 days or so, and we're going to know a lot more about this title race, I would say, come next weekend. But it all kicks off on Saturday between Newcastle and West Ham in the early kickoff at 12:30. Newcastle.
Wait, Callum. Sorry, Gareth. Sorry to. Can you? Did Callum really say Gomez was class? Jesus Christ. Okay.
I think he's just playing me.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Let's focus on Newcastle West Ham. I mean, Newcastle season petering out. West Ham have since Paqueta's come back, and you've seen it against England and Spain how good a player is. West Ham all of a sudden look better again. I mean, how do you see this game? Because at the moment, West Ham have turned a corner. Newcastle, you don't know what you conceding too many goals, but scoring a few. But I mean, Eddie Howe, he needs to try and make sure they finish the season strong, because similar to with Southgate, if Newcastle were to lose, say 6 or 7 these last 9 games, it's not going to look good for him. So, do you think Eddie Howe's job relies on how strong they finish the season? I mean, even if they could nick into the Conference League, that would at least be something for the Newcastle fans to get excited about next season playing in Europe again.
To be honest, Gareth, I've watched Newcastle quite a few times over these last few months, and the one thing that I've been shocked at is they just look disinterested, man. They look like they've kind of just said, "Screw it, this season is terrible."
I think the Charter say after the Chelsea game that he thinks they want just the season to end. But
the Chelsea game was really the game where I thought, okay, they don't care anymore. Like they just don't care. So I don't know. To be honest, this game, West Ham can be either lethal or absolutely horrendous. I don't know. This game has. I do have a feeling.
This type of game where Newcastle at home will be the crowd will get down the attack, and West Ham can counter attack.
Let's be honest. Newcastle have been terrible over these last few months. Like they can't be terrible to continue. Like they have to find like some vein of form. Like they're much better than they're performing, and I think they're gonna end the season. I think much better than how they were over the last few months. So I think they're gonna win this game. I think it's going to be. I'm gonna go for. They concede so many. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win, Newcastle.
James saying 2-0 West Ham.
Yeah, that could happen. Yeah,
I think this is a game where the Newcastle crowd, even though they're bad away from home, the crowd's going to get them the attack, and that's going to play into Moyes' hands, and he'll set Antonio's back too. He's been scoring goals. They've got Paqueta, they've got Kudos, they've got Bowen, they've got Antonio. And that in the counter-attack against them. Now, Botman's out for the rest of the season. Miley's out for the rest of the season. They've more injuries. I just think it's all set up for West Ham. Callum agrees with you, 2-1 Newcastle. Kieran saying Champions League has killed them with injuries. I think West Ham won this 3-1 in a counter-attack and David Moyes classic. Moving on to Saturday.
You're always this is what I've noticed about you, Gary. You're always very positive about West Ham. I've noticed this. You always give David Moyes, like you always, this is going to be a
good
David Moyes guy.
I think he's very harshly treated. I mean, if you're a West Ham fan,
Gareth.
Well, look where they are in the league. They're sitting 7th. I mean, they're not going to be any higher than that.
I mean,
they're still in the Europa League. They're still in the Europa League.
Listen, if they get to at least if they get to the final, I think they're going to knock out.
They're going to give Leverkusen problems. They're going to.
I think they're going to. I think Leverkusen they're going to score set pieces against them. They're not the biggest team. They're going to play terrorist football, playing with like 20% possession and countering them. I really think Leverkusen didn't get the best draw in terms of their style of play. So people are saying West Ham.
I want to know what Stefan thinks of Antonio.
What do I think of Antonio? I think he's
well, he's a handful on his day.
He's like he reminds me of like an old school number 9 before that Arsenal used to struggle with, like the Kevin Davis of this world, or like let me think of it. There was this player from Stoke who was massive, who used to always cause us trouble. Fuller, I think his name was.
Fuller,
or Kenwyn Jones, yeah, Kenwyn. Just a big. He's not good enough to play in like the top 4, top 6, but he's extreme. If you play the right system with him, counter-attacking, super. He can be unplayable at times. So yeah, I like Antonio. I just don't think he's a good enough finisher.
He had a few things to say about Arsenal. I don't know if he was asking you about his football. It's what his comments about Arsenal was.
I mean, it's not. I mean, he said the fact that he gets annoyed that pretty much everyone from his family, his agent, they're all Arsenal fans, and they all like annoy him.
I thought Antonio was an Arsenal fan as well. No,
he's not.
Liverpool, is he a Liverpool fan? Is he? He's Liverpool, isn't he?
I think no. I don't think he's a Liverpool fan. I don't know who he supports, but it's normal, when he's from London, so he probably wished he played for Arsenal. They probably said no to him. So Yeah, I mean,
Let's move on to the 3 o'clock games. Bournemouth take on Everton. Bournemouth kind of stiff after that major comeback against Luton where they were 3-0 down. That could be detrimental to Luton, but we'll speak about Luton.
I told you about Bournemouth, Gareth. I told you.
But they were horrendous in that first half. I mean, if that was any other team, they don't win that game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they were so.
And Luton really, I mean, they caved in.
What the hell? What happens to Luton? Whenever they take some sort of lead, they just absolutely choke completely.
I think Merson says he'd love to see what they were doing at half time if they were in party mode, thinking the game was over. I'm thinking about the Forest game on Saturday. Maybe they had their eye on the Forest game, and then I think they conceded 2 goals back to back, and all of a sudden, then Bournemouth were up for it. But Everton, I mean, I keep saying this every podcast, still haven't won since they beat Burnley in the middle of December on a terrible run. And they will find out, from what I hear, their hearing ended today, and they will hear next week if there's going to be what the outcome of that second charge will be, if there'll be any more points deducted. So they could find themselves slipping further back into trouble, already in trouble, of course. Bournemouth, pretty safe, but I think they will look at this as a chance they really rubber stamp safety, just in case anything mad happens. But I think Bournemouth won this, they can start planning for the Premier League next season. And they'll look at this as an Everton team who can't win for toffee. How do you see this game go?
I'm gonna go for a 1-1 because Solanke, I don't know if you read, he's out for I think 6 weeks, pretty much until I agree with James. And Bournemouth's form, I've noticed, has really faltered over the last few months. They haven't been kind of the same team they were around like kind of the December, kind of November, December period.
I think they just knew as well they were safe too, but I think that's really where they're at.
Yeah, I think
them being high or not.
But they were on that amazing run where they beat Man United 3-0 at Old Trafford. Like they picked up points against against some teams. So for me, I honestly think it's going to be a 1-1. I think I just think Everton have been a bit unlucky. Like they were unlucky against you guys when they played you at Goodison Park. I thought they outplayed you and should have gotten more from that game.
I think it's all when Solanke doesn't score. I know they scored a few. There's Semenyo's been scoring, but I think they rely on Solanke for goals, don't they? And
he he's out. But now, I mean, I'm gonna go for 1-1. I think Everton. Even the last game they played, I think it was Brighton away. They outplayed Brighton. They had better chances than Brighton in the game. They could have easily won the game. Honestly, the more I watch this guy, he is one of the worst finishers I've ever watched in the Premier League. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He is so bad at finishing.
I mean, Everton haven't won a game since December. Do you think they can stay up with draws between now and the end of the season? Because they don't.
They need to start winning.
Let's say they draw 6 games. Let's say they draw 6 games. That would be enough, wouldn't it? Depending on their points deduction, of course, if they get more points taken off.
It depends on Nottingham also, because Nottingham have also been quite terrible. I think Everton are a better team than Nottingham. I really want Luton to stay up, man. So I'm really for Luton to actually stay up.
I think everybody feels the same.
So. And you know what? I love Luton because of the way they play also. They play really brave. They will go at you. Okay, they might lose sometimes badly, but I appreciate that. And but for me, I don't know. I think this game is going to be 1-1, and I do fear that Everton, I think this year will go down. I really do, because of the points charges.
Yeah.
So
Bournemouth. Tough one they call, because if Bournemouth turn up, I can only see 1-1. But if they're slightly off it, like they've been a lot recently, Everton are the type of team, and I actually think Everton's soup playing away from home at the moment, because I think at home there's pressure on them. I think away from home they seem to be able to go to like Brighton, and they were unlucky not to win. I mean, at Spurs, they were totally dominant in that second half against Spurs. They should have got something there.
No,
United away too. They were dominant.
No, forget the Bournemouth. I thought Bournemouth against Spurs. I mean, they had how many? 25 shots.
But Everton too. Somewhere, I think Everton were very good against us away.
But Everton.
Everton had 27 shots at Old Trafford too a few weeks ago, and they couldn't score.
Oh my! They completely outplayed Man United. If you watch the game in terms of the football, they just whenever they got near the box, it was Dominic Calvert-Lewin and.
But
you know,
that's definitely. I mean, you could have 120 shots, but if you can't score, it really makes no difference, is it? That's the
he
thing.
was so bad. He was so bad at he was so bad in that
Mm.
game. Like I was like,
Uh, Kieran,
how is he
Kieran
missing
asking
this?
about points deductions and appeals. There is a chance that these appeals might not be finished until the 24th of May. Now the season finishes on the 19th. I mean, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? I mean, teams getting deducted, getting points back. Forest have appealed their points deduction and feel they've got a great chance of getting at least
Yeah,
1 point back. We're
no,
hearing
for
it,
sure.
they're confident they can get at least 1 point back. So, I mean, it's just a mess. I mean, have the Premier League handled this right, in your
No,
opinion?
no, they haven't, because from what I read, there's a chance that, let's say Everton get deducted points now, they go down at the end of the league. However, in their appeal, the appeal could be done after the season, and the announcement could be done after the season, in which they might regain some points and go above and not get relegated. So the team that might think at the end of the season we're not getting relegated gets relegated in the end. So I think that's just super. I don't know how to call it.
There'll be no pitch invasions at the end of the season. From
Yeah.
Luton, for example, where they stay up and then they'll know not to celebrate because
No,
obviously
I honestly, yeah, I
5
honestly
days
think,
later
yeah.
they could be
No, I
done. So
honestly think it's gonna be between Forest and Everton for me, and a lot of it depends on Everton's form. They need to pick up a few wins, but let's see. I mean, I'm very intrigued to actually see, because Sean Dyche is really good in these type of situations. You know, over the years with Burnley and stuff, so he has experience in how to deal with the final 10 games, and there's pressure, of relegation. So I'm intrigued, but I just don't think Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth's form has gone down. I think they've kind of taken
I
their
agree with
foot off.
you. I think a good Bournemouth team wins this game, but I think Everton will get something. So I'll go with a 1-1 draw.
Defensively, the thing is, Garrett, Bournemouth have looked really shaky defensively,
Mm.
which they didn't look previously. And Everton, if you look at some of Everton's previous games where they say, yeah, they don't have a win, they've been unlucky. If they have one player that can just,
they're all tight games, aren't they?
yeah, if they have one player that can just finish like
That's the
even
thing, Stefan. You could sit here, they may, and say, oh, but if they done this, they haven't got the striker. They score goals. That's a problem.
they have easily, in my opinion, this year the worst striker. And nobody has worse finishers than Everton. Like if you see their stats, their performance metrics, they're actually quite impressive. Like their XG, the amount of chances that they create is very, very good. I think it's in the top 7, Everton. So in terms of going forward, it's just like, go watch some of the games. Like go watch them play against Brighton away. They outplayed Brighton. They should have won that game. They had better chances. Spurs at home. They outplayed you guys. They could have they should have won the game based on the actual chances that they created. Spurs scored 2 goals kind of against the run of play, but their XG at the end of the game was like 2.7 and yours was like 0.8. So some of the games they haven't been, I don't think they've gotten kind of the even Man City, Everton. Man City were really struggling to break them down. And then one amazing moment from Haaland, finished it. But Everton really, really nullified them in that game. So I honestly think things will turn for them. I do. I think they're not as bad of a team as their league.
Chelsea Burnley is our next game. Burnley give themselves a bit of hope with that one against Brentford. I mean, it might be false hope, but they still have half a chance depending on points deductions. If they can win a couple of games, who knows? But I think it's unlikely. Chelsea, I think I said this a few weeks ago. I said they're starting to get a few more points on the board. I mean, they're a long way from where they should be. They're a long way from they should be, but they're probably in their best run of form in the league for
3-0, Darren. Jesus,
3-0. He said.
Who's gonna score the 3 goals, Darren?
Burnley are awful at the back. Burnley could give you 3 goals kicking. I mean, they could kick 3.
But Chelsea can't finish to save their lives, Gareth. Like like people say they're improving. How are they improving? Oh, because they beat Leeds.
They are scoring more goals.
Because they beat Leeds and Leicester. Did you go watch those games? Leeds outplayed them for the majority of the game. They were the better team. Leicester, they went down 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. Leicester completely outplayed them in the second half, came back to 2-2. Okay, with a red card too. They survived and could have won the game. Leicester had chances with a red card, and then they got a fluky last minute goal. Like the same thing. What happened with Leeds? I remember.
Well, I think that I think what people are saying is maybe not that they're great, but they're starting to win games, and that's been a problem for them.
No, that's true. No, that's true. Like in terms of the only thing where I would disagree is
I'll be shocked if they don't win this game. I'll be shocked if they don't beat Burnley.
They only. This is the sign of a terrible culture and mentality at Chelsea. They only play big and well against the big teams. They played really well against City away. I thought they deserved to win the league. I thought they played better than, based on the chances that they had. I thought that they were better than Liverpool and should have won the game. In terms of, especially in the first half, some of the chances they missed were just a crime. So, like, they play well, but then they go to Brentford. They got super lucky. Brentford should have won the game in the second half. They hit the post. They had so many chances. They remind me,
wasn't it 2-2 draw?
Yeah, 2-2. But Brentford completely out. No, it was 2-1 to Brentford, and then they scored, I think, in the last 5 minutes from a corner, like completely against the run of play. So no,
but surely they'll beat Burnley. You don't see it.
No, I'm telling you right now, I'm going for a 1-1, Gareth. 2-2. By the way, Gareth, you're laughing. No, you're laughing. They don't have a good record against Burnley. Go look at the
Burnley are weak. Burnley are poor.
Yeah, I agree with Darren. They should have beaten us at home. They should have beaten us.
Chelsea won this easy. 2 or 3-0. I'll go 3-0 as well. I'll go with Darren. Easy. Burnley just haven't got it. And not even that. Burnley will try to play it from the back and get caught. They do it in every game.
Chelsea can't play. Chelsea, when you get at their defense, which Burnley will, Chelsea will struggle. Chelsea
won that game. Nottingham Forest against Palace. Huge game in the battle. They stay up. Palace aren't safe yet. No, Palace are on 29, so they're not totally out of trouble yet. There's teams there on 24, 25. Forest being one of them. If they already won this game, they would be near Palace again. Mm-hmm. I think this is a must-win for Forest. I think they need to win this game, or at least get something out of it. I don't think they can afford to lose this game. How do you see it?
I don't know. Forest. I mean, it's Forest at home, so they're usually very good at home. I'm gonna go for a terrible 1-0 win for Forest here.
I'll go 2-1 Forest as well. I think home advantage could be crucial. 2-1, 1-1.
And Palace, I think I've scored the least amount of goals this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't score many. Sheffield United. I mean, home. I mean, I don't know what's worse. I mean, them at home is as bad as anything I've ever seen. They tend to get humiliated.
What are you on about, Gareth? They won their last home game. What are you talking about?
Sheffield United.
Yeah, I think they beat Brentford, didn't they?
Nah, I think that was on back. I think they've been beaten 5 or 6 times, haven't they? Check the results, but I'm nearly sure
Sheffield United. Okay,
they not Arsenal their last home game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was Arsenal 6.
And before that, they were beaten by Villa 5, and a couple of our teams went there and
Bournemouth. Okay, yeah. Well,
5. Brighton beat
I disagree with you. I disagree. Fulham have one of the worst away records.
Sheffield, I have never seen a team humiliated as much at home in the Premier League ever. Beaten 5 and 6. How many times this year? Newcastle beat them 8. I mean, they are as bad. I'll be shocked again if Fulham don't go there and get a result.
I disagree with you.
They're already relegated. They know they're down. Yeah. They have nothing to play for.
I agree with you, but Fulham are terrible away from home. They have one of the worst away records. I'm going to go for a draw here, 1-1. I agree with Darren. Fulham are terrible. They're so bad this year away.
Fulham won this 2-0. Spurs, Luton. Now, funny enough, we just looked there. Fulham totally battered Spurs. So Fulham play anywhere near they did against Spurs. They'll go to Sheffield and score 5 or 6 too. Luton, very poor away from home, Stefan. Surely you're not going to tell me Luton's going to come here and get a result. Spurs have been very strong at home this season.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 2-1. I don't think it's gonna be as easy. I think Luton, you're gonna concede a goal again because I think Luton are really, and I think you're gonna concede from a set piece. I think Luton are very good at those. But I think you just win. I think you win 2-1. Or you know what? The Luton are really gonna go at you, so they're gonna leave space. So I'm gonna go 3-1 Spurs.
I'm just trying to think of how many we're going to win by here because I really fancy us. They put a few past Luton. I think it's going to favour Arsenal actually because I think Luton are going to have to go to Arsenal on Wednesday even after going to Spurs and they're going to be on the floor. I think we'll beat them by 3 or 4 and he'll beat them by 5 or 6. I think it's going to be a tough few days for Luton in North London. I'm going to say 4-1. I agree. I think Luton will score because Spurs don't keep clean sheets. I think 2 in the last 19 or something have been clean sheets. So I'll go for 4-1 Spurs.
Garrett, don't forget though, Luton have a very good midfield. That for me, I'm gonna be. If I'm gonna tell you this, If Ross Barkley and Sambi Lokonga go to the Spurs stadium, and dominate Basuma, like
but they won't
I don't think. Sorry,
they won't go there and dominate. They'll go there and they'll have a go, like you said.
No, I think this game is gonna go exactly like every pretty much Spurs win at home, which is you're gonna start really hot. You might score early, which you usually.
You know what though? That was the case in the first half of the season. Recently, teams have been coming.
Recently you haven't. But you're going to have like a 10-15 minute spell where you score 2 or 3 goals,
3 or 4 goals.
And you're gonna win. I think it's gonna go similar. I'll be very intrigued because the Luton coach is very attacking. Is he gonna go full gung ho on you, or is he gonna do the similar thing?
I think he said this before when he goes to these places. He says it's a free hit, so he'll go for it.
Well, then he's gonna leave space. And then the other advantage is their whole starting defense is pretty much injured. I don't know if you saw.
There was a boy played against Bournemouth, looked like he'd never kicked a ball before. A Japanese player, he got brought off. He was all over the place. It was his first Premier League game ever, so he was like their 5th choice centre back.
Some of their players, man. I like their left back. What's his name? Doherty.
I think obviously Lokonga.
He's very good.
Are the main players and. They're missing Adebayo. Adebayo's been a massive loss for them.
He's good. He's good. He would cause you guys problems. He's good. He's good.
If Luton stay up, it won't be these next 2 games. It'll be the other games. I just want to see. I actually think
Liverpool Seedorf.
I actually think that they've got Brentford next Saturday. Luton will be happy enough if somebody offered them now getting spanked at Spurs and Arsenal and beating Brentford at home. That'll be where they look for the points next week. I actually think they'll play a weekend team at Arsenal because it's on Wednesday. They have to play Brentford on Saturday, and that's a massive game against the relegation.
Honestly, Garrett, for me, the best coaches I want to see, is the ones when you give them time, when you give them 2 weeks to prepare for a game, which he has had now, 2 weeks to analyze, to prepare for a game, to look at the weaknesses of the other team. In the American sports, the best coaches in the NFL, for example, if they have a break, and you give them 2 weeks, they usually win. The more time they're given to prepare for a game, their win percentage increases. So let's see how good of a coach in terms of, because I really rate him as a coach, the Luton coach. Let's see if he's analyzed Spurs because defensively, I think you can be get at. Let's see if
Van's back too. That's a big.
Is he back? Because I haven't seen him training, Gareth.
No, he's back. No, I have it on good authority. He's back, and he was a massive Fulham. He was a massive Fulham. So he was. Let's look at Villa. I'm hoping we can get this one at 3 o'clock, and I can relax because the next 2 games, the 5:30 and 8 o'clock, are going to be 2 games I'm going to have an interest in. Villa Wolves. Now this is a derby game, and Midlands. Villa have been actually better away from home recently than at home.
That's true.
Since they lost to Newcastle in the league, they've lost to Chelsea in the cup. They've lost to Spurs. They've lost to Man United. It's just been a bit of a nightmare at home for them. And Wolves are a funny team. They can beat Spurs. They can beat Man City, but then they concede 2 goals against Coventry in the FA Cup and go out in bizarre circumstances. So it's a bit like we said about Brighton. Wolves are very unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get. If it's a good Wolves team, Villa are in for a really tough game. If it's a Wolves that play Coventry, Villa will probably wipe the floor with them. How do you see this game go?
Wolves have a terrible they don't have a very good away record. One, two, their two best attacking players are now pretty much done for the season, and Cunha and in Neto. He's
I
also
like
injured.
this João Gomez boy. He's quite good.
He's good, but Villa's midfield is also very good. So I just think Villa
McGinn
will have too
suspended.
much for them.
McGinn
Sorry?
suspended. He'll be a loss, McGinn.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he'll be a big loss, but I still think Villa have more than enough going forward, and they're at home. And I think Villa will win this. Even though Emery, by the way, when he was at Arsenal, had a terrible record after the break. Terrible.
Because Villa's going to Man City on Wednesday. So
But
I think he'll look at this as a must-win. Villa need to win this game because I don't see them going to Man City and getting anything. So unfortunately, I do fancy Villa. They won this, but I think it could be quite entertaining. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Villa win. How do you see it?
I think I'm going to go the same as Darren. I think 2-1 Villa. I don't think Wolves have that many goals in them without those two key players.
It's an extended Saturday program. There's also an 8 o'clock game.
Brentford
take on
this is
Man
gonna be
United.
good.
So, funny enough, all these three teams fighting for them Champions League positions are all on one after each other. So, good chance for Spurs to get the points on the board and watch Villa and then United after. See, this is where the pressure is on United because they are the team chasing. If Spurs and Villa won, then almost Brentford games a must win as well because United are the team that are chasing really, and they need one. I think in my head I was saying I think United need to win 8 of their last 10 games. They really put pressure on Villa and Spurs because Villa and Spurs can win 6 games and that will be enough. So
of course, Darren. 2-0 Darren, I'm actually surprised you're being very, very, very conservative usually. I thought you would have written 5-0 Brentford. Yeah,
I don't know. This isn't the same Brentford team.
Brentford have been terrible defensive. They've been horrendous this year defensively. Like they're a joke defensively.
I still think United's best route. United won't be. I don't think they're going to get there. I think United's best chance of a successful season is winning the FA Cup, and even though that means having to play Man City, I still think they've more chance of winning the FA Cup than they do of finishing 4th or 5th.
Gareth, oh my God, man, it would be so amazing if they drop out to Coventry. That would be so good. Oh my God, that would be absolutely hilarious. I agree with James. I'm gonna go for 2-2 also because Man United concede 20 shots pretty much every single game. They conceded.
Brentford's games are usually high scoring too, aren't they? They're scoring goals and
so
goals.
Brentford can score. Ivan Toney is back, and I really do think that Brentford will score because just Man United just concedes so many chances. So I really think, but then again, Brentford, they have a defender called Collins who is absolutely just a walking liability, just makes mistakes literally every single game. He's terrible. So they're at the back. They're nowhere without Pinnock at the back. They're just not the same
they
team.
Lost
so
the left back too. Henry's been a big loss. The left back.
Yeah,
Shocking.
Yeah, Reguilon is out. But
he's suspended.
He's suspended. So let's see. I mean, I hope that because
Brentford, I think Brentford will be better off with Reguilon because he's a liability. Let's be honest. I mean, he's just a shocking defender.
Can I just ask Gareth? Like, look, I agree. Reguilon maybe isn't better defensively, but in my opinion, he's still better than Ben Davis. Why do Spurs fans?
Well, I think that Davis wears his heart on his sleeve. Well, where the qualities there, that's another thing.
Yeah, but Gareth, if I play for Spurs, I'll wear my heart on my sleeve. But I'm shit. Like that doesn't mean anything. Like I thought Davis
had a good game last night against Poland.
Yeah, I get okay. Well, I mean,
look, I'm not his biggest fan, but I think Reguilon's just a liability. I mean, let's be honest. This is the same player, Reguilon, this season, who is a current Spurs player on loan at Brentford, put up a screenshot on his Instagram of him watching a Man United game and saying, "Come on, the Red Devils." So he's on loan at one club, contracted in our club, and he's supporting a club who shifted him. He was on loan at. So That's where you're at with Region.
No,
I, I think I'll agree with you two. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
yeah.
Move on
I
the
think
Super
that's gonna be
Sunday.
good.
Liverpool against Brighton. They start us off. Um, I know you're going to give me reasons why Brighton might get a result, but Liverpool, in my opinion, are going to steamroll Brighton because Brighton are going to
I
go
know.
there and try and play, and it's going to play into Liverpool's hands.
I agree, but I still think Liverpool are going to concede. I think it's going to be 4-2 Liverpool.
4-2.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. Some comments. Oh, Darren's not as confident. He's saying 1-0. James thinks 5-0.
5-0. I mean that is possible. That is with Brighton.
And let's finish off by
Uh,
asking Stefan how he thinks Man City Arsenal is going to go on Sunday. Um, very tough to call. And sometimes each game's usually end in draws, so it's maybe that's the most likely outcome. Would you be happy with a draw?
yeah, I would be. Gary. It's not the end of the world. We're still 1 point ahead of City. If Liverpool win, we're only 2 points behind them with a better goal difference. So again, it's not. I doubt Liverpool are going to beat Brighton 7-0. So in terms of, we'll probably be 2 points behind Liverpool with a better goal difference if Liverpool win.
The lads
So
all
it's not
saying
the end of the world. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think that's my prediction. You know what? Screw it, Gareth. Screw everybody in the chat. 1-0 Arsenal. We're going to keep
1-0
a
to
clean
the
sheet.
Arsenal, the famous
Yeah.
last word. Do you know
Yeah.
what? I think both teams will score. I don't think it'll be high scoring.
It's going to be a terrible game.
Something just tells me Man City are going to nick this 2-1. Just that experience.
I agree
Haaland
with
can
that.
score from anywhere, a scrappy goal in the box or anything.
But here's the thing.
Even if Arsenal lose, I don't think they're out of it because they would still only be
3 points
behind Liverpool. So I don't really think they're out of it. Darren sends great 5-0 City. I suppose
let's see. But
you can play at that game.
no, let's see though. I think Arsenal are probably the team over the last, season and a half that has nullified Haaland probably in the best way in terms of completely taking him out the game. So I think we definitely have the defenders to play against Haaland. I'm just more intrigued. I'm more intrigued about our attack. Let's see. Havertz, I think Havertz brings so many things that is so good, in terms of defensively, off the ball, making amazing runs and stuff like that. But when you get limited chances, you need to be clinical. You need to take it 1 out of 2 chances, for example. Will he be able to do that? For Germany, he did. For Arsenal, he did against Brentford. So he has been more clinical, and they did an analysis on his finishing this season. He's exceeded his XG this season. So his finishing is actually better than people would think. So I think
you just need to be at your brilliant best to go there and won. I think
I disagree. We need to be disciplined. We need to be solid defensively, because I would be more worried about us in terms of their defense. Gareth, this season has not been the same. And I really think that without John Stones, one thing that's given me hope is every time I've watched Kai Havertz play against Ruben Diaz, he has given him a massive, massive headache. Ruben Diaz does not play well against Kai Havertz. So Ruben Diaz is probably going to play against him there. And John Stones is probably out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And in terms of passing the ball and progressing it from the defense to the midfield, I really think that's a big miss. So I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to be able to deal with the Arsenal press and how they're going to be able to deal with the attack. Because if they don't have Kyle Walker also, that defense, in terms of just pure defensively, goes down.
Stefan, it's been brilliant having you on. I'm really looking forward to that game on Sunday. Really looking forward to the Premier League returning this weekend. I want to thank all the viewers for their comments. I'm sure they're excited as we are about the Premier League returning this weekend, and looking forward to that game, especially at the end of the weekend. Man City taking on Arsenal. Of course, as well, it is Easter weekend, so obviously everyone have a good Easter, safe Easter, enjoy the celebrations, the bank holidays off work. Stefan as well, hope you enjoy your Easter holidays over the weekend. I'm sure it'll come down to the game on Sunday, being a determining factor. But as always, if you're new around here, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, and I'll be back on Monday to review all the weekend's action and look ahead to the midweek Premier League round. As I said, it's a busy time for Premier League teams, all back on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night. 3 games in the next 67 days for all teams involved. So hope you enjoyed the podcast as always, and we'll be back on Monday. Stefan, thanks very much, and see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye, guys. See you. Liverpool suck.